What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to tonight's Anfield Agenda News Roundup. Tonight, I'm going to be focusing my efforts on one topic and one topic only, and that is the situation with Liverpool Football Club, the PGMOL, and the Premier League. You may be aware that Liverpool released a statement yesterday looking for all avenues to be explored, and it has led to some sections of the media to start to already undermine Liverpool and this process. People who are supposed to be, again, journalists looking out for the good of the game have started to show their true colours. Over the next 8 or so minutes, I'm going to read out some of these comments to you. Ask you guys, of course, to let us know your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, please do drop a like. And of course, we'd love you to hit that subscribe button. So let's start off with Mr. Gary Neville. Gary, who I was singing his praises yesterday because he came out and said the situation was wrong. Well, Gary seems to have had a little think and walked back a little bit, in my opinion. Here's what Gary Neville's had to say. He said, Jurgen Klopp handled the situation well last night after the game. Most football fans will have had empathy with what happened and recognised it was wrong. Really key phrase there, it was wrong. However, Liverpool's statement tonight is a mistake. Talk of exploring all options, and then he puts in brackets, what does that even mean? And sporting integrity are dangerous phrases along with being vague and aggressive. Sorry we effed up was enough. I said this last night, sorry should be respected and not undervalued. This is a snap reaction that can always be wrong, but I feel strongly about it. You also felt strongly the other night, Gary, that Liverpool were hard done by. Now all of a sudden, sorry is enough. So, using your own reasoning, Gary, if the Glazers come out tomorrow and issue an apology for everything that's gone on at Manchester United, you have to respect that, Gary, right? You have to drop it then because that's the end of the process. An apology, Gary, needs to be respected, right? Of course not, because you and I know what you both said was absolute nonsense. Somehow, all of a sudden, Sky and lots of other journalists have all started to walk this back and talk about a dangerous precedent. You know what else is dangerous? Officials having an overdue influence on the games. You could say this is human error. It could very well be. Or, and just maybe, there could be something else to it. And doesn't that and shouldn't that be explored to the fullest extent of the law? Shouldn't this be looked into and investigated? Not just for Liverpool, but for every other club that were hard done by. For every other club that were victim to the failures of the PGMOL and the VAR referees and assistants, because quite frankly they're not fit for purpose. Now I'm going to show you some even more ludicrous examples of what some of the media, again you will notice a lot of these people will pop up on Sky as well, and I've got nothing against Sky in this. I've praised Kaveh Solokol for his fantastic covering of all things Liverpool around Paris and the incident in the Champions League final, but this from Gary Neville is, well, quite frankly it's embarrassing because he doesn't believe the words he's saying. And as I've said, if the Glazers apologised, would Neville shut up? Would he stop criticising them at every turn and blaming them for everything? No, because Gary has a fair point. The Nevilles have done a lot of stuff wrong, and this one instance in its own isn't the only reason Liverpool feel aggrieved and other football fans feel aggrieved. Look at Mark Halsey's previous comments. Look at comments from former referees who've actually had a backbone and come out and spoke about the fact that this is a shambles. Now we move on to another journalist, a very high profile journalist as well. Jonathan Liew. You will often see him on Sky Sports with their back pages shows and others. This is what he says, sarcastically of course. Replay Spurs versus Liverpool. Replay the 2005 Champions League final. Replay France versus Ireland. Replay the beach ball game. Replay the entire 1978 World Cup. Actually, on reflection, let's just start the whole sport again. Won't surprise you to learn that Jonathan is a Spurs fan. Won't surprise you to learn that Jonathan is also an idiot. Apparently, that's my take on it. When I read that comment from a journalist, I see idiocy. I see somebody who doesn't have the morals to be talking about this situation. I see somebody who actually has a vested interest in it going one way. I see somebody who is an absolute fraud to their profession and doesn't have the backbone to stand up for what's right and hides behind sarcasm. Jonathan, my friend, that is not good enough. You are a respected, esteemed journalist. You need to act as so. This is tribalism. You're supposed to be above this. Doesn't stop with Jonathan Liew though, it carries on. Another journalist who I often had a lot of time for, somebody whose work I've admired over the years, Tim Vickery. He says, silly statement from Liverpool. What options do they want to explore? Does this include replaying the final of the 2019 Champions League because of the wrongly awarded handball penalty at the start of the game? Now, Here's the thing, mate. At the time, under UEFA's Champions League rules, you and I both know that that was a penalty. And also, Tim, that underwent every part of the process that you would expect it to. It was checked, it was confirmed, and the penalty was given. So, whataboutery isn't going to get out of this subject. Whataboutery isn't going to get us away from feeling as aggrieved as we have. How many apologies have the PGMOL issued? How many points have been taken away? How many moments lost? How much money have clubs lost? Why are these referees and their assistants going over to the United Arab Emirates on a Thursday for a handy little side gig when that, of course, that country, the United Arab Emirates, also owns Manchester City? Surely you can see that we, as reasonable, rational football fans, might have an opinion on this that could be, maybe there's nothing to it, but maybe, just maybe, it needs to be looked into further. Another part of all of this, my friend, is that clearly the PGMOL should not be self-policing. They are incapable of self-policing, and any investigations that they do will only be undermined by the fact that they're all pally-pally. And that's a fact. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, look at former referees. Again, I'm going to refer you to Mike Dean. Mike Dean clearly stated on national television that he didn't send Anthony Taylor over to the pitchside monitor for the VAR incident where Mark Cucurella's hair was pulled because he didn't want to get his mate in more trouble. He didn't want more pressure to pile on his mate's shoulders. This, my friends, is an example of at least a little bit of honesty in the situation. Now, what was the PGMOL's reaction to this? They put out a statement, of course, saying that they refute these claims. They refute the instances. You can't refute what a man told you he did. The man told you this is what he did and why he did it. To refute it is only again to undermine the integrity of the entire process. So I ask, yet again, stop putting tribal nature into this. Move it aside, look at it in its own unique instance. It is a travesty, it is an injustice, and it is entirely avoidable. Yes, you can say an apology should be accepted, Gary, and in most instances I would agree with you, but how many apologies? How many times? How many times does somebody get to say they're sorry and not change? Because if it was in any other walk of life, it was a friend in an abusive relationship, if it was anything along those lines, sorry just wouldn't cut it, would it? And for me, as a football fan, this feels like a type of relationship that I don't want my club involved in because I feel entirely undermined at every turn. So please, footballing world, and footballing media in particular, push aside your nonsense, push aside your club allegiances, push aside your bias, and actually look at this for the good of the game, which is what you are supposed to do. The governing bodies, the PGMOL, the FA, the Premier League, UEFA and FIFA all need to get their heads together and sort this out before the integrity of the game is undermined and unfixable. We love the sport. We need the sport to continue to be healthy and most importantly, to be beyond reproach. This is what we need to sort out. This type of behaviour from the media is unacceptable. They need to come together and talk like grown-ups. Thank you for your time. Looking forward to reading your comments.